Yes, guys, we were talking about. Oh, my mic is off. Give me my mic, please. Oh, you know it, eh? Some guys don't even know what is an house. I know. So I'm not saying you. Some guys don't even give me my. You know the story about ladies. Ladies be like.
You're not waiting for others.
Comment about them. They must mind their husband.
Who's giving?
I don't know. Okay, guys. We can proceed now, right? Remember that we started yesterday, and today we are going to finalize, right? But if you are not here, you have to start first by the recording number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, in order for you to understand. So don't try to go like together with us. You are going to get lost, right? So even this one, this session will be recorded, right? Yes, guys. Number 1, you have to understand that when we are talking about spanning tree protocol, this one, you're going to find it by default. It's enabled by default, right? So STP, oh, it's very. So by default, you're going to find already this STP running, right? It's on your devices. Right? So when we are talking about STP, right? By default, it's working already. So when you connect your 4 switches or your 3 switches between them, by default, spanning tree is working already. By default, your spanning tree will block some of the ports to avoid like the loop. There is no need for you to go there to configure, right? So by default, it's gonna work. By default, your spanning tree will find that loop, right? Number 3, spanning tree. We'll send what we call BPDU. BPDU, it's a, right? So by default, when you have switches, right? Those switches will start sending what? Messages. Those messages, like technically, we call them BPDU, right? So you got one switch here, so there's another switch. Those 2 switches are going to start exchanging what? BPDU. BPDU, they are like messages, right? So if I have like switch number 1, let me show you what I'm talking about. So there is, yeah, switch number 1 here. There is switch number 2 here. Right? And you have 2 links, right? Now to avoid the loop, right, between those 2 links, you can use this, what? Spanning tree protocol, right? But your switch number 1 will send a message to switch number 2. And switch number 2 also will do what? We would send back, right? But those messages, we call them what? VPDU, right? This is how spanning tree works, right? So those two switches will try to learn, right? So switch number one will try to learn about switch number two. And switch number two also will try to learn about switch number one. So spanning tree protocol will try to understand the whole topology, right? By sending what? VPDU. We can move to number three. What is my number three? Number three means this, right? Your STP will have a default priority. Default priority of 32768. Right? So every switch will have a default priority, right? So remember that those exercises we've been doing, right? We were taking like the priority randomly, number 4, number 5, number 10, right? But technically by default, that priority is what? 32768 by default, right? But you can change this priority, right? So I'm gonna show you how you can check this priority. You can go to packet tracer. You can drag and drop 3 switches. Which one can I use? Okay, let me go for 10 this side. Can go for 2 here. I can go for what? For 15 or 14. And 14, I can go to 15, and here I can go for 11. Right? So let's say you have this topology, right? 3 switches. Those 3 switches are interconnected, right? So you have a PC there. You have another PC there. Right? And you have to understand the reason why are we connecting the switches between themselves. Why? Because even if one link failed, like between switch 1, switch number 2, right? Even if one link failed or fails, you can still accessing those other switches, right? But by doing this, you're gonna have a loop. Now you have to use what? Spanning tree protocol. But there is no need for you even to configure it, right? Because spanning tree will come by default already, right? Okay, do this and we're going to move forward. I'm waiting for you. Are you done? So what did you see? On link number, from the interface, this one, FA0/14. It's orange, right? So you can see that it's orange, right? So what does it mean? Spanning tree protocol is blocking data. That's port, right? I told you, like, by default, it works, right? So spanning tree is blocking which port? That one. That why it's orange, right? Without even you starting what? Configuring. Spanning tree will tell you which port is going to block. And you know how the algorithm works. Can we proceed? Okay, just 1 minute more. So that orange means like spanning tree is blocking that port, right? So what we're gonna do now, we are here, right? Number 3. I told you that the default priority is which one? 32768, right? Now let's check it, right? So we're gonna check, so like on every switch. So you go to your first switch. You can console or not. Still you're gonna access the SLI, right? Now from here, what we're gonna say? Show spanning tree, right? Show spanning tree. When you press tab, it's gonna come by itself. There's no need for you to type like everything. When you just type show space span, you press tab, it's gonna complete for you, right? So when you wanna learn something about your spanning tree configurations, you just say what? Show space spanning tree, right? And you're gonna press what? Enter, right? Okay. You can see it's 69, the extended one, but it's 68 or 69, right? But you can check here, right? So this is how you can check the priority, guys. Here, you can see it here, right? And the MAC address of the switch is here. MAC address of the switch, your priority. Now look at here, guys. First column, right? Look at your table. First column is what? Interface, right? How many interfaces we use? 3 interfaces, right? What is the role? Right? Function of every what interface, right? So 0/3, that port is what? Designated port, right? Guys, when you wanna know if one port like is root port or designated port, see there. FA0/3 is what? Designated port, right? Did you understand? Because you're not there, you must start with the video. I said so. I said so long time ago, twice. I repeat it maybe 3 times. I told you that you're gonna get lost. Okay, right? Guys, this is how you can check your priority. Maybe when you wanna know if your port maybe the root port or maybe is what designated port. So you just type show space spanning tree, right? But you can also use what? Question mark. Spanning tree space question mark, right? You're gonna get like all the options that you can use with spanning tree. So you can say a spanning tree space detail or spanning tree space summary, right? So show space spanning tree, you press question mark. just for you to see the options that you can use. Right? So most of the screenshots they're going to give you from the exam, you have to know how to identify from column number 2. So you can even see the costs, like column number 3 here, no, number 4. Right? 19, 19, 19, 19. Why 19? Because we are using fast Ethernet. Right? If you are using the gigabit, it's going to show 4. Right? Did you understand, guys? Okay, let's check switch number 2. Show spanning tree again. Maybe this one. Show spanning tree, tab. Yeah. What did you see there? Right? You go to another switch, you say it again, show space spanning tree. Because we're gonna learn some details about our spanning tree, right? Our spanning tree. But when I passed my CCNA, I didn't know about this spanning tree properly. Passing is another thing. Knowledge is something else, right? Now, guys, when you look at this FA0/14, right? From the 3rd column, from the status. So what they are saying, BLK means what? Blocked. That port is what? Blocked. That way you can see the orange, right? Yeah, you see the orange here. So from spanning tree, it shows you like one port is blocked. But you cannot go there to the switch. You are checking the lights, right? So the LID and so on. Just by saying show spanning tree, you will know which port is blocked, right? And remember that that port is blocked by default by spanning tree to avoid what? Loop, right? Okay, let's go to switch number 3, the last one. We're gonna do the same thing, show spanning tree, right? You go to, there's no configuring, we're just using the show command. Hey, you have a problem when your problem is you don't like practicals. You, Rebecca, talking to you, I know you properly. So when you are jumping the practical, you become weak yourself, right? Hey, I'm checking your keyboard there. I cannot listen the sound of your keyboard. Okay, guys. Now, from switch number 3, right? When you look at the 3rd column, status, no, the role. So you can see those 2 ports, they are what? Designated, right? When you see there is no root port, means what? This is a root bridge, this switch, right? Remember that from the root bridge, right? All the ports, they are what? Designated port, right? But if you look at those two interfaces, they are what? Designated. No, it means among your 3 switches, one shows like this, because I don't know which switch you're using there. But check your 3 switches, you're gonna see one switch, it's designated, right? So if you see designated means that this is the root bridge. But if you see there's a root port, it's not a root bridge, right? So let's go back to the previous switches we're gonna see. See like this switch here. See here, there is what? There's a root port. But remember that like a root bridge can only have what? Designated, right? From yesterday, root bridge can only have what? Designated port. But if you see from one of the switch, there is root, means this one is not a root bridge. Right? So when you go to one of the switch, right? You said maybe show spanning tree, right? You look at that small table down there, right? You go, you check your interfaces, you check the role. When you see that those interfaces, they are designated, means that switch is what? Root bridge. But if you see there is a root somewhere, one of the ports is a root port, means that switch is not a root bridge. Because the root bridge, all those interfaces must be designated, right? We can move forward. Number 4. Every segment required what? A designated port, right? So if you connect like 2 switches, right? Every segment will have one designated port, right? So when you connect switches, right? That segment, that link, that cable, one side must be a designated port. So this is, what does it mean? Right? Every switch must have a designated port, right? Every link, so when you see a link between those 2 switches, there's a cable there. One port is a designated port, but you have to identify it. You know how to identify it. So this is the meaning of number 4, right? Number 5, if you add like a new switch with lower priority, right? Or lower bridge ID, to the topology, it will be elected as the root bridge. So what does it mean on number 5? Suppose like I have already like 3 switches. I know already my root bridge, right? If you can bring another switch to the topology, right? And that switch has lower priority, means that that new switch will be a root bridge. So this is the meaning of number 5. So when you bring a new switch to your topology, right? If that switch has lower priority than the previous root bridge, that switch will be chosen as a root bridge, right? So means that somebody can access your network and just like change the root bridge, right? Or the priority number. So lower priority means you are going to be elected as a root bridge, right? You can change the priority number. So guys, you see those priority, right? You can change them, right? But when you change your priority, so you don't want to use the default, the one that comes with your switch, right? you can use your own priority, but remember that the priority that you're gonna use must be like a number that's gonna be the multiple of what? 4,090. Multiple means what? Yeah, times what? Huh? Ish. I know you know so many things, so it's not obliged for you also to know that one. So they cannot measure your intelligence because you don't know this, right? Multiple of a number means that you have to multiply that number by all the numbers that you know. So multiple of 2, 2 times 1, 2, 2 times 2, 4, 2 times 3, 6. So 6, 4, and 2, they are multiples of what? Of 2. Every number must be multiplied by all the numbers that you know, besides 0 maybe. So if maybe they're asking you, what is the multiple of 5? So you're going to take 5 times 1, 5. 5 times 2, 10. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 4, 20. So 20, 15, 10, 5. Those are the multiple of what? Of number 5. So for you to get the multiple of this number, so you're going to say times 1, times 2, times 3. So when you are changing the priority, you must always take like a number that is a multiple of 4,096, right? How are you reading this number? Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's your language. I don't mind about me. Right? It's what? 4,000 and that? Oh, 4,000 and... Hey, guys, this is too much for me. 4,000 and 96, right? Okay, now, what is the comment that you're gonna use for changing the priority, right? So I'm gonna just like type it. The comment, maybe you're gonna say, spanning tree. Or I can go from the interface. Okay, let me just say like this. Spanning tree, maybe if there's a VLAN 10, spot priority, maybe what? Right? But this one, it's when you are dealing with a port, like a specific port, right? So you must be like in configuration, no, interface mode, right? There's no need for you to memorize it because you know already the question mark, right? So you can only say spanning tree question mark, right? So means like maybe you got a VLAN 20, VLAN 10, all right? But those concepts, as I said, you have just maybe to know them for passing the paper, right? There are so many theory questions. They will ask you, which one is the default, the priority number? How can you change like, the priority number? Which one is the multiple of this priority number, right? Because this configuration side, you can get them, right? But what is most important is what does it mean? What you wanna achieve. Now, let's talk about the cost. Right, the part cost. You can also change this part cost. Remember that I told you, right? When you connect like those two switches, this one. When you connect this switch and this one, right? Switch number 2, switch number 1, and maybe there is here switch number 3, right? Now you're gonna have maybe one link there, one link here, and here, right? Suppose like this one is FA 0/1. This other one is FA 0/2. And this one maybe it's gigabits 0/1, gigabits 0/2, right? And this one is fast Ethernet 0/1, maybe fast Ethernet 0/3, right? You can draw it for me, please, guys. No, using your A, you are, there is no notebook. Who's the notebook? Yes, my Lord. Yes. No writing down. You are not writing wherever we started. Yeah. You must listen and you are taking notes, right? Because you are learning twice. You are learning with your brain and you are learning with your hand. The one who's drawing can understand like better when you are using your hand, right? You can understand better. Guys, ish. Where are you? Eh? White papers. Ish. So I'm paying for you the ticket for the game. You go inside the stadium. You want me to buy food for you? Yeah? You want to cover the food also, right? I already paid for you the ticket. Just watch the game. You want the game? Food for me. Ah. Because you never asked. Which one do you have now? You're on WhatsApp. What happened? You use your money. Okay, who wants papers, please, for me? Now, guys, when you notice here, this link, right? The link between switch number 1 and switch number 2, right? That cable, those 2 ports, they are what? Fast Ethernet, right? Because they are fast Ethernet, the default cost, so we're gonna take 19. So spanning tree by default will consider the cost of what? 19, right? This is why, because it's fast Ethernet. So gigabit Ethernet, so cost of what? 4. Fast Ethernet again, the cost is what? 19. This is how it works, right? You know, the cost maybe can be what, guys? Maybe the speed. Maybe for you to reach from switch number 1 to switch number 2, so it's gonna take you 19 megabits per second, right? Maybe it can be the delay. How many seconds you have to wait for your message to reach maybe switch number 2, right? So we call it a cost, right? Whatever that you are doing, there is a cost. You go to for a marriage, there is a cost. You decide not coming by the campus, there is a cost attached. You decide going and buy food, there's a cost. You know what's gonna happen like after, right? So when you connect like 2 switches, there's a cost. But that cost, you can interpret it as maybe the speed or the required bandwidth between those 2 switches, or maybe it can be the delay, right? But the most important part, you have to understand that when you are linking to fast Ethernet, by default, spanning tree will take like the cost of 19. 2 gigabits, the cost gonna be 4. Right? And remember, guys, you can also do what? You can also change the cost. Right? So, and the comment for changing the cost per interface, you can just say interface 0/1, spanning tree. Remember, guys, from here, when you don't know what comes next, use the question mark, right? So spanning tree, maybe VLAN 10. Now you're gonna say what? My cost is what? Maybe 40, right? Yeah, you must have it. 40. Just any number. So this is an example, right? But remember that you don't need like to memorize the rest. The only things that's gonna come into your mind is spanning tree. And when you type spanning, when you press tab, it's gonna complete for you that tree, that left. When you're gonna press the question mark, it will give you those options that you can use, right? So you can change the cost, you can change your priority, right? What else left? Now we spoke about, okay, let's see. The port status, right? And remember, guys, you can also disable spanning tree by saying what? No spanning tree, right? It's number 8. Yeah, we'll show you. Right, so you can say maybe, so you don't want spanning tree to run on that particular interface. So you're gonna just say, no spanning tree, maybe VLAN 10, right? So you don't want spanning tree to run on this particular interface. For those who are writing, we're asking about number 7. Okay, let me go back. You're gonna take some notes there from number 6, number 7. Hey, my friend, that guy was advising me. And that guy was driving, eh? So that time no money even for me to buy a bag. So I was inside like his car. My friend is telling me, hey, Issa, you want money? What do you know? Which skills do you have for you to say the money is short? Fix your skills first. Hey, I was keeping quiet, right? When I went home, from that day, I said, okay, let me just be a better person. Let me be a skilled person, right? But himself, he forgot the advice that he gave to me. He forgot. He became lazy. The same guy became lazy. Yeah, by himself. Forgot. No, he was proud by himself because he was already there. That guy was like my dean, like the dean of the faculty. So he was already there. But me, I was his best friend, you know? You know, when somebody's higher than you, like that guy was driving like nice cars. So when he's taking me inside his car and he's telling me, Issa, what do you know? You want money, but you don't know nothing. These people, they want somebody who's skilled. When you have skills, they will pay you whatever that you like. I said, this guy, how can you talk to me straight like that? Right? But I never complained. I just went back home slowly. Myself working. First thing when I come inside my office, it's first reading my own thing. Preparing for 2 hours. By 9, they're going to see me out. I bought the computers. My office was like with 5 computers, learning about networking. 5 computers, I brought it inside. I took them from the legs by force, bring them inside my office. Yeah, by force, I just went to the left open. Yeah, pick up a computer, 5 computers, right, for myself. Okay, where are we now? Number 9. Forcing a switch to become a root bridge, right? You can force a switch to become what? A root bridge. You can force it, right? You can force a particular switch to be your root bridge, right? And the comment, it's easy. So again, spanning tree, maybe villain 10, roots primary. This roots primary means that you are telling this switch to behave as a root bridge. This is the meaning of roots primary, right? So you are asking switch number 1 that you are the master switch. All other switches will be connected like to you and follow spanning tree. All right. And when you're gonna say that switch number 1 will be your priority, what's gonna happen? The default priority will never be again that 32768. Now, the default priority for this switch, default priority will be 24576, right? By default, so it's gonna change. So it won't gonna use the 32, so it's gonna use what? This 24, right? You can also change from roots primary to roots secondary, right? Any questions about spanning tree, wherever we started yesterday from where we are, all right?
Spanning tree is very challenging.
It's not challenging. Oh, from the calculations. You are not here yesterday, Aibo. You are here. Okay, we're gonna repeat it again. Let me finish what I'm doing now. You have to repeat it in order to understand better. Repetition is the mother of all sciences. I'm gonna repeat. You have to remind me when I'm gonna finish here. There is no jumping. You cannot go to another lesson when you don't understand like the previous one. That's why I always give like to you exercises. When I'm explaining something, I'm giving you a lab. In order to make sure that you understood it. There is no way moving forward. And remember that the exam is 85%. The passing mark means that when you went to CCNA, companies, at least they know like you know 50% of your work. There is nobody who got the CCNA without knowledge. Minimum 50%. Everybody got that knowledge, right? No jumping. When you don't know, we can even go back, even to CCNA 1. Done? Okay, let me just finish here. So status or state, huh? And say state or status. Okay, let me say state. I think they're writing it. Guys, when you have a switch, right? When you plug your switch and you connect your cables, your switch will move to 4 steps or 4 states. Your your ports, right? So I have a switch. Okay, let me show you. Maybe this is my switch, right? Switch number 1, like here. There's another switch here. Switch number 2. Now I'm gonna plug this there, right? Maybe it's FA0/2, right? So when you plug this cable to switch number 1, right? Your port, right? Your port will use 4 states. There are 4 states. That's gonna happen, right? And remember, guys, when you go like here, right? Let's say I'm gonna put a new computer here. When you're gonna plug from your PC to the switch. So which color can you see there? Orange. This is the first state of spanning tree, right? This first state, how to move from here? How to move here? I don't know Microsoft Word like properly. So you must teach me. I don't know it's better. I'm lazy on typing. Blocking state, right? So that orange shows what? Blocking state, right? So STP port will move by using 4 states. So when you take your cable, you take your switch, when you plug that cable, first it's gonna show the orange one. Means it what? That port is on block state or blocking state, right? That's why there is that orange, right? Now, what this port will do, right? From blocking state, when it's showing the orange, right? From blocking state, that port will not send data. There is no sending, no forwarding. Okay, number 1, no forwarding. How to write forwarding, guys? No forwarding or no sending, right? Number 2, no learning. No learning from other switches. Right? So when your port still on orange, means that port is on what? Blocking state. Blocking state means that port cannot send data. That port cannot learn about those switches connected to it, right? So, or those devices connected to it, right? But the ports can listen. So that port can listen, right? Listen to what? To neighbors, right? It means this, guys. So I have this switch, right? Right? It's plugged. When I'm gonna connect this cable here, like here, we connect it here, right? Connect it here. We're gonna take another switch like this one, right? You connect it, right? So when it's showing the orange, means the blocking state, right? From the blocking state, that port cannot send data, cannot forward. That port cannot learn MAC addresses of all the devices connected to this switch, right? And this port, the only thing that this port can do, listen. Listen means that you are hearing what's happening from this cable, right? So the only things from the blocking state is listening only. This is the meaning, right? So after this state, your port will move. That way, sometimes you can see your port like changing to green. No, I'm gonna remove, don't worry, because I'm still using it. Number 2, your port will move to what? What we call what? Listening. Right? So from listening, your port also will do what? Will not learn. So we'll never learn. We'll never forward. Right? You just copy and paste. Right? But that port can send and receive BPDU. No, I can listen and send BPDU. So spanning tree protocol informations, right? So first, that port was in blocking state. That port will move to listening. Listening still, you cannot send, you cannot forward data, you cannot learn about MAC addresses, but you can only do what? You can listen to spanning tree protocol. What information? Right? Just keep with you. After this one, your port will move to learning phase. Right? From the learning phase, so what will happen? Your port will learn about what? MAC addresses. Right? But there is no forwarding. There is no forwarding. Hey, I'm going to keep it like this. And the last one, number 4, it's a forwarding one. All right? So from here, your switch can learn, can do like everything, huh? Learning, listening, and do what? Forwarding. Yeah. Listening, like sending, like everything will be done now here. Right? So what you have to understand is this. When you plug your port to a particular switch, your port will use 4 states. Your port will progress using 4 states. Right? The first one, so you call it the blocking state. You can see the orange. What does it mean? You cannot forward, you cannot learn about MAC addresses, you can only listen. After that, your port will move to the next phase, the listening part. Right? Still, you cannot forward, you cannot learn, but you can only send and listen spanning tree protocol information. After that, we're gonna move to what? Learning part. From the learning part, this switch now will learn about the MAC addresses from other switches, from that switch that is connected to it. Learning means like building a database now. Now this switch will build its database by keeping what? All the MAC addresses of that switch and all the computers, right? And the last one is what? Forwarding part. Forwarding means now that switch is ready, right? To send messages, your packet, your frame, right? Now the questions will change. Sometimes they will ask you from which state a port can forward, forwarding part. From which state like a port can do what? Learn MAC addresses, learning part, right? From which phase like a port cannot send or maybe cannot forward and learn MAC addresses, just listen, right? Your blocking states, they are like that, right? And remember, guys, This blocking state will take like 20 seconds. So this other one is 15. Right? So a particular port takes 20 seconds being in blocking state. After 20 seconds, that port will move to the following phase. Right? What left? You are tired, guys? Don't be tired. Okay, just 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left, right? Okay, so I think I've. Okay, guys. I'll stop from here. We can just go to the lab and do the exercises, but after C, right? Any question, guys?
We're getting there.
You're getting there. Everything is easy. The questions are easy. And make sure that you are going to start practicing chapter 5 and chapter 6. Rebecca, you have to start practicing chapter 5 and 6 because on Friday you're going to write. Because we are done with all those 3 chapters. But remember, there's only 2 chapters for that exam. So the exam is, and I told you there is only 85%. Less than 85%, you're going to repeat your assessments. Give me the mouse, please. There is no say. What left? Where is my... Hey, what happened? Remember that we never did what? We did already this one for this document. No, eh?
Teresa, I should do it.
Yeah, should do that one.
I should do it.
But don't take like this one. Hey, while touching my stuff without asking the permission. Tell your friend she's touching my stuff without permission. What's happening?
To remove.
Okay, she's moving. You must reduce your stuff. Why are you taking more space?
Oh dear. Oh.
For what? Am I your husband? Give it to your neighbor. She's disturbing us, this one. Hey, don't corrupt my PA. See, okay. This one, what is this? You're gonna put something, right? First, what is this and what is this? Transformation journey. Okay, no, just you're gonna just take this one. Not this one. Hey, but remember, you already took it. Okay, you're gonna start from here. You take this one, you take this one, and so on, right? Guys, take your tea and we're gonna come back later.
Sir, I should ask the question and answer.
No, first, just go.
I sorry. Excuse.
Not question and answers first. First, just go.
I should do this and then let's have question and answer.
Yeah, later. I'll tell you when to start.
Tell me, Nishab. I'm okay.
Let's say number 1. Finish your work there, number 1. Finish your work. Take the number 1. You are not number 1, you are number 1. I'm done recording, but I'm making more than the same numbers. Eh?